Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose. And even though Microsoft completed the Activision Blizzard acquisition last year in October, it's been an entire year by this point, but technically from a legal point of view, they're still not 100% out of the woods just yet. Microsoft still faces a couple of legal hurdles, but at the very least, they just swatted one of those annoyances away, and now they're really just kind of moving into their final phase. Then also, Nintendo, in kind of an amusing turn of events, just got caught red-handed. A lot of fans are poking fun at them for doing this, and maybe rightfully so, but this does beg a very interesting question, so make sure to stay tuned for all of that, and we'll get into that as well. Let's just go and get right into things, though, starting off with one of my favorite consoles of all time, being the Nintendo 64. In some ways, I credit the Nintendo 64 for my love of home console gaming. I have so many memories tied into this console with my family, and, it also has some of my all-time favorite games, like Banjo-Kazooie, Diddy Kong Racing, the old Mario Party games, or even more obscure titles like Silicon Valley. If you haven't ever checked that one out, definitely go do so. It just has so many gems, but unfortunately, there's not really a perfect way to play these games on modern 4K TVs, or at least until maybe now, because Analogue finally announced their FPGA Analogue 3D. Now, on their website, they claim that it's a reimagining of the Nintendo 64 in 4K resolution, 10 times the resolution of the original Nintendo 64 with an asterisk mark. The first and perhaps greatest multiplayer system of all time, Analogue 3D is 100% compatible with every original Nintendo 64 game ever made. Region free, it has Bluetooth LE, dual band Wi-Fi, 4 original style controller ports, entirely new next generation analog hardware featuring 3D OS, and it's engineered entirely in FPG, meaning there is no emulation. And that's the big selling point for analog consoles. They're basically premium reimagined consoles that takes advantage of your physical catalog of games, and they aim to improve them. I actually have their Analog Pocket, which is a reimagining of the Game Boy and Game Boy Color, and I can say firsthand, it's a great device. I'd even describe it as transformative to a degree for those games specifically. And that's the hope for Nintendo 64 as well. The idea that you can simply plug it into your TV and to have it upscaled to 4K resolution to make your games look and to feel better on a modern TV, yeah, on paper, this sounds incredible. Now, we still need to see it ourselves, though, because we don't have any direct comparisons to go by, which that might be a little bit alarming, and that's where I'll also say, even though Analogue makes good products, they are a frustrating company to deal with. First off, if you want the Analogue 3D, its pre-orders will go live on October 21st at 8 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time for $250 without a controller, though you can use your original Nintendo 64 controller if you have something like that. And to be completely honest here, I think this is a much better price point than what I was expecting. Even still, though, the long-standing problem with Analogue is how they do their business. Their pre-orders, the way they work is that it's first come, first serve. And they always have a very limited supply of pre-orders. So this is a company that gets hit heavily by scalpers. And it's just frustrating for customers to actually get the products that they want. You would think that they'd want our money, but it almost feels like they live off of FOMO. That's how they sell their products. So the best thing that I can say here is that if you're interested in the Analogue 3D, you're going to want to be there when it first goes live, and after that, all I can say is good luck. Now, we also got some great PlayStation news today. Obviously, last month we got Astro Bot, which in my opinion is one of the best 2024 games, and I'm happy to say that there's still more Astro Bot to look forward to. PlayStation just posted a blog about its future, and they said, as announced in the recent State of Play trailer, starting on October 17th, we will be releasing the first of our brand new speedrun levels, Building Speed. These levels will test your platforming skills, and alongside an online leaderboard, will give you the chance to compete against all your PlayStation friends. Following on from this, we will release a brand new speedrun level each week, so by the time you have perfected every jump, hover, and spin in one level, a new challenge will await you. The release schedule is as follows: October 17th, October 24th, October 31st, November 7th, and November 14th. So if you like Astro Bot, this actually sounds like a lot of fun. For me, I'm definitely going to have to jump back in for a little bit of competition, kind of see how I stack up against other Astro Bot players, but hang on here. They said something else in this blog that's been catching some attention. And check this out. They ended this announcement by saying, "That's all we have for today. However, watch this space as there may be even more surprises coming soon." So yeah, based on how that reads, it definitely sounds like Astro Bot has more content planned for the future, not just these speedrun levels, maybe an expansion. And I think if that happens, what I'd like to see from them is more unique special levels. If you've played Astro Bot, you know that in each world, it ends with a unique level where you play as a PlayStation character, and you take on some of their abilities. Now, I'm not going to spoil those levels for you, play the game yourself, because it's absolutely fantastic, but it would be really cool if we see more levels like that in some kind of an expansion. Either which way, though, I mean, whatever they do, I'm all ears. I cannot wait to hear what they have planned. Now, we also got a new Xbox announcement to talk about as they're starting to ramp up for one of their biggest releases of all time, Call of Duty Black Ops 6. I mean, it's still hard to believe that they actually own the Call of Duty franchise, but they're starting to make it loud and clear with its inclusion for Xbox Game Pass later this month, and now a couple of accessories that you can buy right now. This includes a new controller as well as an Xbox Series X console wrap. And I mean, I absolutely love seeing this. I mentioned just last week that they haven't done near enough with these custom wraps. But here we are, and this one looks really good in my opinion. You can already pre-order it on the Microsoft Store for $55, and I'll tell you firsthand, their wraps are actually well made. I got the Starfield version last year, and I was very pleased by what they gave me. That's also all the more reason that I'm annoyed that they don't do this more often. I'm kind of hoping to see a Gears of War version at some point in the future. Come on, let's make it happen. But either way, this is a great way to kick off their big new franchise, Call of Duty. And speaking of Xbox and Call of Duty, let's just go and talk about the legality of the situation. So as we all know, last year in October, Microsoft completed the Activision Blizzard acquisition. And for better or worse, depending on how you look at it, they're now free to do what they want. Or I'd say at least mostly. I still think they have to be a little bit cautious about what they do with Activision Blizzard just because they technically have two legal challenges looming over their shoulder. The first and the bigger of the two is the FTC. While the FTC lost their first attempt in court last year, they've still not completely given up their pursuit to reverse the Activision Blizzard acquisition. Now, that specific situation is still unraveling, and we'll see how all that plays out in due time. But there's also this other just kind of sideshow that keeps popping up, and that's the so-called gamers lawsuit. Now, this lawsuit is on the behalf of 10 individual gamers that are allegedly concerned about the acquisition because they're fans of multiple Activision Blizzard games, and they're concerned that Xbox could stifle competition and even make these games exclusive to the Xbox platform. Now, I've been saying for a very long time, I really don't believe that Activision Blizzard was acquired for exclusivity. I don't think that's their mission with this acquisition, but this argument continues to pop up, and that also includes the gamers lawsuit. So they decided to turn to the law to stop the almighty Microsoft. Now, in my opinion, I've always viewed this case as laughable at best. I mean, we've seen console wars online, but this is kind of taking it just to a whole new level here. I don't know, but the fact is, this group of alleged gamers just wouldn't go away. This is something that Microsoft has had to deal with. They were kind of a thorn in their side. So, yeah, Microsoft finally said, okay, enough is enough. Let's just go and deal with this group so we can all move on and live, I guess, happily ever after. So, it was just revealed that Microsoft settled the gamers lawsuit outside of court. You can see here where it says terms of the settlement were not disclosed. The two parties agreed to the dismissal of the lawsuit and will cover their own costs and fees, according to a court filing dated Monday. So there it is, one clown show out of the way, and now we just have to kind of wait to see whatever happens with the FTC and what they decide to do. Okay, before we go, we do have one more amusing topic to talk about, and that's because Nintendo was caught red-handed at the Nintendo Museum. Of course, they just opened up their museum, and it honestly looks pretty cool. The gift shop specifically is supposedly amazing, and I'd like to visit myself one of these days, but apparently they have these booths where you can play retro games. And somebody took a video and posted it online where they unplugged a Super Nintendo controller and plugged it back in. And the machine that it was attached to made a very familiar sound. It made the Microsoft Windows jingle sound when you attach peripherals to your PC. So, in other words, Nintendo themselves are using some kind of an emulator on a PC at their very own museum. So, obviously, people are kind of poking fun at them because, this is the same company that has shut down multiple emulators in the past, actually multiple just this year alone. But I'd also say, in their defense, this is Nintendo's IP. So technically, they can do whatever they want with their own games. If they want to use a PC emulator at their own museum, then, it's no harm, no foul. So I don't think it's necessarily as embarrassing as what some people are making it out to be. But I do think the bigger question for me is, what emulator are they actually using? Because I want to know that part. Are they using their own emulator that they built themselves? Because that would be very interesting. Or are they using a third-party emulator, some of the ones that they don't like? Because, that would be kind of amusing if they are. Either which way, though, I think this does beg the question, why doesn't Nintendo officially support PC emulation? I mean, they're doing it here at this museum, so why not just officially do this? Because I think if Nintendo put out a PC emulator for their retro consoles, games that people still want, I think a lot of people on PC would be willing to pay good money for something like that. I mean, they could even put something like Switch Online on PC and that entire catalog if they can get it working, because clearly they have something working on PC here. Again, is it their own emulator or not? Who knows? That's the big mystery. But either way, I thought it was a rather amusing story. Let me know what you all think about this in the comments below. How do you feel about Nintendo using a PC emulator at their very own museum? Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode. But until next time, make sure to subscribe and peace out.